K103 aims to bring Kahnawake an informative, community-oriented, and diverse talk show. To ensure a variety of voices and opinions, K103 reserves the right to screen calls. Our guests' opinions are not necessarily endorsed by or reflect those of K103 or its management. And now, the Party Line Talk Show on K103.7 FM, Kahnawake.
And good afternoon and welcome to the Party Line Talk Show. I'm Lori Jacobs and today is Monday, May 28th. On today's program, we're going to take a look at the dangers of pedicures and manicures by unlicensed nail technicians. Victoria Hunter is going to be my guest in studio, but first we're going to take a look at the public service announcements. And welcome back. It is 12:21 and you're listening to the Party Line Talk Show. Oh, well, with the warm weather, most people have shedded their shoes for sandals and flip-flops. But the worst thing to see so early in this season is dry, cracked nails and scaly feet in slinky footwear. Today my guest is Victoria Hunter. She's a certified nail technician and a nail stylist. And we're going to be talking about your rights as a customer, how to protect yourself when going for a manicure and pedicure, and nail enhancements. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Victoria. So, Victoria, what is the difference between a nail technician, a manicurist, and a nail stylist?
In some places, there isn't much of a difference, but if you break it down, a manicurist simply does natural nail manicures, filing, cuticle pushing, polishing, massage. A technician would apply enhancements like UV gel, acrylic, wraps, resin, and a stylist is somebody that is devoted to nail art.
But did you ever go to like Mexico or places like that and you see the people putting designs on a piece of rice? Is that kind of, because it's so small and so intricate. Is that what a nail stylist kind of does? It's kind of freehand?
There's a lot of freehanding. There's embedded elements like feathers and dried flowers and foils and whatnot. There's also 3D art sculpted by brush with the acrylic. It's all sorts of possibilities.
How long have you been a nail stylist?
A stylist? Oh, probably only 8 years. Prior to that, just basic nails, very basic, simple stuff.
Okay. So pedicures and manicures, they're a booming business, especially at this time of year. But I was surprised to learn that in Quebec, nail salons are not certified.
The definition of certification implies that someone's regulating the schools. We have absolutely no regulations here for the schooling, no standards governed by the government. There's no enforcement of hygiene or safety. So when one says they're certified, they've earned a certificate, but whether or not it holds any value is a whole other kettle of fish.
So that's what it means by NSS,
non-standard salon, yes.
Okay, yeah. So when a person goes for a manicure or a pedicure, is there a way to tell that the person that is working on them is certified?
Not really, unless you have the knowledge, and most consumers don't. They don't know what to look for. That's our biggest problem.
It's been reported in the news in the last couple of months that customers have been contracting infections and things like that in local nail salons.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, you were part of a CTV news. It was a short segment on the news.
Yes, it was a short little 5-minute segment.
Yeah. And there was a woman that was featured on that show, and her nails and her hands were kind of like all infected, and she had blamed it on going to, get a manicure, and the manicurist or the technician that was working on her nails used contaminated.
It's very likely in a lot of cases where infections are contracted in salons, it's due to unsanitized and undisinfected implements and tools. They're not working very cleanly. They're not using hospital-grade disinfectants. Pedicure spas are the absolute worst. The technicians are taking one nail file and going client to client to client with it, carrying bloodborne pathogens and all sorts of whatnot, from person to person. So it's very dangerous.
I have a sister who went to a nail salon in Chateauguay, and the person that was working on her used a file and it hurt.
It shouldn't hurt.
It shouldn't hurt.
The electric file, first of all, shouldn't touch the natural nail in most cases. If the nail's prepped properly and the products are quality and applied properly, the technician shouldn't need to damage the nail plate for the product to adhere.
And then she said, "Ow!" And the person just kept on doing it.
They don't care.
And then what happened is when she went home, her nails started to get a little yellowed. And is that from an infection?
Yellow, well, it depends if you're referring to the enhancement or the actual natural nail. If it's the product that's turning yellow, this is frequently a result of either contaminated brushes or worse, a very dangerous acrylic product referred to as MMA, which is actually illegal here in Canada. But many salons use it because it is 1/3 the cost of the legal products, and so this is why some places have such low prices. They're putting your health at risk.
So it's kind of a toxic acrylic?
Yes, it was deemed by the FDA as a toxic and deleterious substance.
Ew. So what rights does a customer or a consumer have?
At present, the most a consumer can do is file a report with Health Canada or Health Quebec, Santé Quebec. We don't have an office in place inspecting salons, so that's really their only recourse.
How can you tell if there's a problem with a pre-existing disorder or a disease, or if it's an infection? Is there a way to tell that?
Well, the most common infections due to, unsanitary practices are fungal infections and pseudomonobacterial infections. The fungal would be characterized, say, for example, if the nails have a fungal infection, by yellowing and very soft, and it breaks away in chunks. If it's the pseudomonobacterial infection, this is what's frequently referred to as mushrooms, champignons, mold. They're green. They leave a green or brown stain on the nail, and this is frequently caused by technicians working in an unsanitary fashion.
My goodness, some they have this thing with fish.
The Gararufa, yes.
And the little fish go, and I guess you soak your feet and the fish go and
eat the calluses, yes.
The dead skin off your feet.
This is a new fad. It's very dangerous. It's starting to get banned all around the world. Even the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, determined that it was not safe. Bloodborne pathogens such as hepatitis, HIV, etc., can be carried in the water that the fish are living in and passed client to client. It is impossible to disinfect this water because then you kill the fish. You can't, clean it in between clients. There are some salons saying, "Oh well, we have a UV light that cleans the water." It's ineffective. It's been proven to be ineffective. It can't penetrate beyond 1 inch of the water, so the rest of the tank is just filthy.
Can a person that will be working on your nails, do they have the right to say, "I don't want to touch this person's feet because maybe there's an open wound"? Or
technicians should refuse service if there is an open wound.
Because I've known some who just said, "No, it's okay."
No, we shouldn't.
Are they doing it just because they want the money?
I mean, granted, if someone has a nick on their leg and you from shaving, and that your tools are disinfected and you're going to be throwing away the, disposable ones and etc., you have to work within reason and use common sense to a degree. But if you see a very serious wound, you really shouldn't be performing a service.
And, some people have just little cuts or little hangnails that are infected. Would a certified person work on that nail?
Again, it comes down to common sense. You have to determine how serious it is. I think in most cases, if there's an infection, they really should be referred to a doctor and have it treated and seen to.
If you're just joining us, this is Lori Jacobs, and you're listening to the Party Line Talk Show on K103.7 FM. In studio this afternoon is nail stylist Victoria Hunter. And we're talking about how customers can protect themselves when they go to get a pedicure and a manicure. We have a whole lot more to come, so please don't go away. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back, and thanks for tuning into the Party Line Talk Show. I'm Lori Jacobs. Today's topic is nails, pedicures, manicures, keeping your nails healthy and safe from disease and infection. My guest this afternoon is nail stylist Victoria Hunter. So, Victoria, I know that there are, I've heard of scams that nail salons have. What are some of those scams?
Oh, one of them is they'll differentiate between UV gel and acrylic, and they will suggest you get biogel. It's better for your nails. Only $10 more. First of all, UV gel, acrylic, gel resin, Rasp, shellacs, gel polishes, the works, they're all from the acrylic family. They all contain acrylates, in essence, plastics. Mm-hmm. Neither one or the other is better or safer for you. What's better and safer for you is a trained, qualified technician working safely. The product doesn't cause harm, except in the case of MMA. But generally speaking, legal, quality, safe products do not cause harm. Technicians do. And a lot of clients or consumers are falling for these scams. They're being told, oh yes, this is gel, powder gel, better for your nails. And the technician is simply applying standard acrylic, but on the container, it says gel. If it's powder, it is standard acrylic. It is not gel. Gel is thick, like a honey in consistency, very sticky. It's pre-mixed. There's no odor.
So the shellac that you're talking about, is that kind of like the same shellac that people use on furniture?
Oh gosh,
no.
No. They coined the name, I believe, because with the top coat, it's as shiny as shellac. Okay. It's actually a UV polish hybrid. It's applied like a nail polish, straight to natural nails and cured in a UV lamp. And toughs out much better than nail polish does, 2 to 6 weeks even. I had a client come back at 6.5 weeks. It wasn't even shipped. I was stunned.
So some of these scams, are they performed locally?
Yes. Several places locally.
Because I know we were talking off air, and you said you had a person come to you and tell you.
Oh, yes. I've had many clients come to me, and now they're long-term clients, tell me of the different scams and incidents and problems they suffered at the other salons where, several layers of the nail plate was filed away. They were told, get biogel, it's better for your nails. This has calcium in it, which, by the way, your nails don't need calcium. They're not bones. The scams are endless. Oh, powder silk nails. We don't put silk on our nails unless it's a silk wrap. Another one is they refer to acrylic as resin tissé, which translated means woven resin. Since resin is a liquid, it's an adhesive, you can't possibly weave it. It's just acrylic. But because of the bad reputation given to acrylic by some unethical technicians and salons, other technicians are resorting to lying to consumers instead of educating them to get their business. It's called fear tactic marketing, pretending that their product is so much more better than somebody else's.
It only costs, $10 more. So that's always, a draw for consumers. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're getting the best product at a lower price.
Yes, marketing is a funny thing.
So is it is it healthy for your nails, first of all, to have something on your nails? Because I know a lot of people who have like circulatory problems. I've heard that even nail polishes, some cheap nail polishes, cut off the oxygen that goes into the
your
nails.
Nails don't have lungs. I'm pretty sure the last time you washed dishes, your nails weren't screaming, help me, I'm drowning. Nails are, to simplify it, it's dead cells, like your hair. Nobody's stopping from coloring their hair, highlighting their hair, slapping it on, slapping gel and mousse and whatnot all over it. Quality products are safe. They're not going to cause any health issues.
So, once again, you were saying the best way to protect yourself is by going to a person who is
qualified.
Mm-hmm. How do you know that?
Regrettably, in Quebec, there's no surefire way to know that. It's not a problem only in Quebec. It's actually around the world. But this is, Canada is one of the worst for being unregulated. We only have 2 provinces that require licenses and whatnot. Where licenses are required, you're looking at courses that are 200 to 600 hours long. In Montreal, at best, you can hope that your technician took a 3-day course. The best way to arm yourself is with knowledge. Do your research. Find out what you need to look for, which is you need to understand the products, how they should should not be applied. How the salon what their sanitation practices are. Are they indeed using hospital-grade disinfectants, or are they just taking a bottle with clear water and spraying things? You have to ask questions. I have a group on Facebook called CATANSS, Consumers and Techs Against Non-Standard Salons, loaded with documents and information to protect consumers and technicians, what to look for when you choose a salon, when you choose a technician. I mean, there's so much detail to it. To go into it in 5 seconds or less is just not possible.
So, what is the acronym?
CATANSS. CATANSS.
Okay, so CATANSS.com.
Oh, it's on Facebook. It's a group on Facebook,
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Because there are many people that are on Facebook, and many people get pedicures and
yes.
manicures.
Yes, dangerous things.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you become part of that news? The
CTV?
News piece in CTV, because I remember it was in March.
Yes.
And I remember watching it, and I was, oh my God, because I have many family members that go to these salons.
Well, they Googled me, and on my website, they actually found my older website. My new one's under construction. They found my page loaded with information about NSS, non-standard salons, and MMA, the methyl methacrylate, the toxic acrylic that we want to watch out for. And because I provided so much information to the consumers and the public, they called me up and met with me for a few hours, and we talked at length.
So you talked at length?
Yes.
And when you were shown on the piece, it was a very short piece.
Well, it's par for the course that the media, whether it's news, newspapers, magazines, they focus on sensationalism, the scary, exciting stuff. Science and facts and figures are very boring and tedious. But unfortunately, eliminating that from the report didn't give consumers the weapons they need to protect themselves, which is knowledge.
So let's talk a little bit about nail enhancements. Do you use tips or glue?
No, I don't. Tips or glue are not bad. I just don't use them.
Okay. So explain your concept of nail enhancements. You touched a little bit on it earlier when you said it was like freehand sculpting.
Oh, freehand sculpting.
Yeah.
That's when you use colored acrylic powder and a brush, a smaller brush than you would ordinarily use, to create 3D art on the nail enhancement. Could be flowers, bows, anything your mind imagines. The most popular is flowers because, of course, we are women. So.
But can somebody just bring you a picture and say...
clients send me pictures often.
Really?
Yes, very often. They'll troll the web looking for inspiration and ideas, and I'll work from there.
Okay. And you've been talking about, you've been saying it in French, but it was the gel resin?
Gel resin, yes.
Okay.
Around the world, it's known as tip and dip or acrylic dip. Okay. Essentially, it's a resin adhesive applied to the nail, and then the finger is dipped into an acrylic powder, and then more resin adhesive applied, and an activator to harden it. And in a nutshell, glue and powder.
And you talked a little bit about the gel, the UV gel.
UV gel, yes.
Yeah.
This has photo initiators in it, so that when the hand is put in the lamp, it reacts to the UV light, which hardens the product for the nail enhancement.
So, using a UV lamp, is it safe?
Yes, it is perfectly safe. Recently on Dr. Oz and on, Good Housekeeping magazine, They said that, UV lamps for enhancements were unsafe. However, Doug Schoen of Schoen Scientific, he's a well-respected scientist, Paul Bryson, and I believe Jim O'Connell, they have all debunked this and done studies and research, and the UV lamps used for nail enhancements are perfectly safe. You'll get much more sun exposure driving your car around town than you ever will from a UV lamp for nail enhancements.
Okay. So we already talked about the little fishy thing, and
Yes.
I'm very, I don't know, even going into the ocean somewhere when there's little fish hanging around, I get all kind of freaked out. So,
Yes, it's
so
unpleasant.
when you think about these little fish nibbling at your feet,
It's not sound.
it turns my stomach.
Yeah, it's not sad. But that's not the only pedicure thing you have to watch out for. You also have to watch out for jet spas. Everyone's a big fan of putting their feet in these, these spas with the jets, and it feels so good.
Okay, yeah.
The problem is a great many salons are not cleaning them properly, which requires that you run it through a couple of cycles with different disinfecting agents, and that you get right into the the actual jets themselves, because that is where all the bacteria is trapped in between clients. So if the client before you has hepatitis or gosh knows what, and then you sit down and it hasn't been cleaned properly, and you have, a nick on your ankle from shaving, well, guess what? You've got hepatitis. They're breeding grounds for bacteria. They're horrible things. Your safest pedicure is in the old-fashioned little basin, like a tub or a bowl, and just go like that.
Do you give kind of massages with the feet?
Well, I
or is that-
personally don't do feet. My specialty is nail art, but technicians that I know who do pedicures, yes, they offer massages for the feet.
some people have calluses on their feet.
Yes.
And I've heard of people who have them scraped off or even cut off. How safe is that?
It's not safe. It puts you at great risk, again, for exposure to blood pathogens and all sorts of infections. It can also cripple you to some degree if someone doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, after all, you need your feet to walk around, and if you can't walk on your feet, well, you're in trouble. The credo blade should only ever be used by a podiatrist. And in actual fact, it should only be used in extreme cases. What it actually does is causes your foot to attempt to protect itself and produce a thicker callus with each use. So over time, it'll make the condition worse. It's much better if the technician uses old-fashioned elbow grease with a foot rasp and a pedicure file, and regular moisturizing of your feet will help prevent and treat it. The dry skin, it's just as with your hair. If you overprocess your hair, you've got to put conditioner in it, or you have a bird nest. Same principle with your hands and your feet. You have to put back the moisture you take away.
So how can someone choose a salon? What should they be looking for? Because, a lot of the salons that I've seen, like in malls, and especially in Plattsburgh and, all over the place, there's always a certain ethnic ethnicity that
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And when we look around, it appears to be that way. The reality is NSS, non-standard salon, is not one race or one culture or one language. It is all cultures. It is any technician, irregardless of their pedigree, if you will, who is not trained, who is not qualified, who doesn't understand the chemistry behind her products, who doesn't understand basic anatomy, sanitation. When you go into a salon, ask your technician, is this my file or am I sharing this with 50 other people? Can I see what your disinfecting protocols are? What product are you using? I want to see the original packaging. How about the original packaging for the products going on the nails? Yes, I'd like to see that, please. I don't want to see a jar on the counter with a marker, written on it, gel or acrylic. I want to see the original packaging. MSDS, the Material Safety and Data Sheet. Asked to see that. That is required for all products, and you can read it and check to see if it lists the ingredient methyl methacrylate, MMA, a product determined to be deleterious and whatnot by the FDA. I mean, the list is endless of things you could ask and look for. Refuse to have the e-file used on your natural nail. That's another one, too.
What if the technician does not speak English?
As in anything else, whether it's a salon, the bank, the restaurant, your mechanic for your car, my advice is choose someone that you can easily communicate with. If you can't have a conversation and discuss your needs with whomever is providing the service, then maybe you need to choose another service provider.
I was reading on Facebook within the last couple of weeks, and there was a woman that was talking about having had a very unnerving experience. She had gone to a salon, and she was sitting on the side of someone else, and there were two people that were, doing the feet, and they were talking to each other in a language other than English, and they were giggling, and they could have been just maybe conversing, but it made that customer very...
It's rude. It's
very,
rude.
And she says,
no doubt about it.
She says, how do I know that they're not laughing at me?
Odds
they're
are
not
high
laughing
that
at my feet,
The odds are high that they're not. But it is rude. And I find it very, very interesting that this is allowed to continue, given we are in Quebec. There are language laws in place. If I were to produce flyers that were only in English, I'd have the Office de la Langue Française all over me faster than you could blink. If I answered my phone only in English, if I offered only English services, I would be in all sorts of heap of trouble. And yet these places are allowed to continue to operate. I find it very confusing.
So you as a consumer, you have the right to price shop. I mean, go
definitely.
to different places, and
I don't. That's what we all do. It is a trying. It's a trying time right now for everybody. Budget is. It's not easy with taxes going up. However, the downside with budget, or price shopping rather, is that if you choose something too low in price, you'll get what you're paying for. Rule of thumb: if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
We're going to take one last break and return to hear more from my guest, Victoria Hunter. She's a nail stylist, and she's a certified nail technician. And, whether you're a male or a female, everybody has nails. And everybody wants to have some TLC on their nails, on their feet, or their hands. And we'll be back right after this. And we are back with the Party Line Talk Show. This is Lori Jacobs. If you're just tuning in, welcome aboard. So the warm weather has most people wearing flip-flops and sandals in the last couple of weeks. My guest in studio today is Victoria Hunter. She's a certified nail technician and a nail stylist. So we're coming to the end of the program, Victoria. And I was wondering if you could recap what customers or consumers can do. What should they be asking when they go into a salon and they see, bulk jars of stuff with little writings on it? I mean,
they
say?
should ask, what brand is this? Can I ask you what brand is this? Can I see the MSDS? If the technician or salon doesn't want to answer the question, then they have something to hide. They can ask the technician or the salon, what are your qualifications? And whatever answers they give, go home and Google it. See if the school actually exists. Same for the brand of the product. Once they tell you what brand it is, go home, Google it, Google images of it, and see what the packaging looks like, and if it matches what's in the salon. Price shopping. We mentioned this before. If a new set of enhancements is $40 or less, you have to stop and ask questions why. Now, it could be possible this is a newbie technician desperate for clients and she hasn't got the skills up yet. Very possible. But in very many cases where it's an established salon and their prices are lower than that, odds are high that they're only paying 1/3 the cost for illegal product. Especially when you consider that they have a commercial rent to pay. Commercial rent is very steep. And tools, ask the technician, do you use the same tools? Do you disinfect them? Can I bring my own? any of these questions, if the technician gets upset about it and doesn't want to answer them or is evasive, something is wrong. If they're causing you pain and causing you to bleed, something is wrong. Get up and leave. I urge everyone, if you have a bad experience in a salon, please report it to Health Canada, and please report it to your local political representative and ask him to get onto it and say, hey, we need standards in Quebec. We need licensing in Quebec. We want to be protected from catching herpes or HIV or anything else. It's just basic suffering. I mean, it's not comfortable when they're causing you pain. I've had clients come to me and say, my fingers were throbbing for days. That's not normal. It shouldn't be like that.
And I think maybe consumers are just a little, maybe they don't want to hurt the feelings of the technicians, but you should.
Well, you should. And a big part of it is, if the technician is truly professional, as the term implies, again, they won't have problems answering the questions.
Victoria, if listeners are interested in coming to see you, I know you're just in Chateauguay. You're not very far. How could they get in touch with you?
They can reach me at my website, www.ongleschezvictoria.com, which is currently under construction. Almost done. French side coming. I'm also found on Facebook under a personal profile, Ongles Chez Victoria as well. And my number is 450-699-4481. I'm available Tuesday through Saturday.
Do you take appointments by email or Facebook?
No, I actually prefer to do them by phone. I find with time delays with email and Facebook, confusion occurs. So appointments are only accepted by phone. Okay.
I'm so glad you came into the program this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
There was a lot of information that we got through. So, so that's Victoria Hunter. You can call her at 450-699-4481. And thanks for coming into the studio.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And thanks for spending your lunch hour with us.